Okay, so if you don't watch the podcast, you may not realize that I've been in the process of trying to buy a new computer. You can actually see the first part behind me. But I've been in the process of buying a new computer recently, and all of the parts have shown up today, so I thought, does this make good content? Well, I'm recording this one, so I guess that pretty much answers your question. So basically what I'm going to do today is go through all the parts and just talk about why I bought what I bought, and yeah, pretty much do that, see if it makes a good video. So first up, because you just saw it already, we have this box right here. So this is the AMD Ryzen 9 3900X. So why the 3900X instead of the 3950X? Well, the 3950X is, I think, $300 more expensive. This is already, I think, 850 Australian, which is completely insane. And partially just because our dollar is worthless right now, but this thing is 12 cores, 24 threads, compared to what I currently have in this laptop, which obviously being a laptop CPU isn't really a fair comparison, but it's 4 cores, 8 threads. Now, the problem I've been having with this thing is, one, render times have been completely horrendous, so rendering one of these regular videos, I think would take anywhere in the realm of 40 to, on the longer ones, an hour and a half, which is fine, unless you make a render mistake just before you go to upload, and then you have to re-render the video and just shuffle around your upload schedule. So the second thing is that when I'm actually recording the podcast, the problem with that is that OBS, at least on Linux, for some reason has a problem having images there. So what happens is that when I have the images there, basically it just desyncs the audio. So every single time I record the podcast, I have to resync the audio afterwards, which is really annoying because I don't really want to even bother doing anything to the podcast besides running it through Handbrake. I don't want to have to render it in Kdenlive. So recording on something with this thing, and it should fix that, because I think it's a CPU bottleneck. I can't imagine what else it would be, but even if it's something else, the rest of my system will easily deal with that. So what else do we have here? So we have got my boot drive here. So this is a NVMe drive. It is a Corsair MP510. The M is covered, but yes, it's an MP510. 480 gigs. Way more than you really need for a boot drive, but hey, why not, basically? If you don't know, NVMe drives are so cheap right now. I have no idea why. It's been so long since I've looked at PC hardware, I didn't realize stuff had gotten this cheap. So I could have gotten the 240 gig model, but it was really only like $30 or $40 cheaper. This already wasn't that expensive, and that's not very expensive in Australian dollars. So I don't know what the price of this is in America. It's probably something like $60 or something, which is ludicrous. I remember when SSDs were still like, for a regular boot size drive, so like 128 gig or 256 gig, that was still like $400 or $500. That's the last time I was actually looking at PC hardware. So that's just an idea of how long it's actually been. But basically my root partition is going to be on this. I might put the swap drive or the swap partition on here just for the lols, basically, because it's so big that I really don't need the root partition and the boot and the boot partition on it. That's not going to take up enough space. So just for the lols, I might also just put the swap on here. I don't know whether it's a good idea to to put swap on something that's running NAND flash though. So it's obviously be fine in the laptop, but I don't know whether it's a good idea. I know the swap will obviously be faster, but I don't know whether it's a better idea just to put it on the other one I have, which is we'll look at that later. This is a Seagate Barracuda 2TB drive. No, it's not upside down. Seagate Barracuda 2TB drive, compute drive. It's a 2TB hard drive. It runs at 7200 RPM. It acts like a hard drive. Now, I could have gotten something like a Western Digital Green. It would perform basically as well. I know for a while Seagate was having problems where a lot of their drives were dying, but I'm going to assume that's probably passed over, and it's a 2TB drive, and nothing too crazy is going to be on it, so this is going to be my home partition, and as I was saying before, maybe the swap as well, but at least for now, it's just going to be my home partition, basically, so yeah, that's what's going to be on there. What else do we have? So this one here was actually not what I was planning to buy. So I was initially going to buy, I think it was still going to be a Corsair Vengeance, but it was going to be a different one. The reason we have this, though, is that I actually forgot to order RAM. So I had to go down to MSY today. Shout out to MSY. They are the coolest PC store Pretty much they don't talk to you unless, like, if you don't know what you want in there, they basically tell you to go away. It's a great store. I love it. Anyway, so I went down there, bought myself some of the Corsair Vengeance LPX 32 gig. It's a 2x16 kit. It's the same size and all that, but it's not the same kit I was going to buy. So the LPX memory is generally a bit more expensive just because it's LPX memory, so that's the low profile memory. It's 3200 megahertz. It's RAM. Nothing too much to say about it, really. Actually, I didn't go over one thing with the CPU. The reason I didn't go the model down is because I had the money to get this one. So no real reason besides that. But yeah, the 3950X was just a bit too expensive. So, what else do we have? We have case fans. So these are the Corsair AF120 LED. They are red. They are not RGB because we don't need RGB. We just need red. So, as you notice, I have an AMD CPU. You'll notice in a second that I have an AMD GPU as well, so I think red fits this build pretty well. The rest of the case, or the rest of the parts are pretty, what's the word? Null colored, or dull colored? Dull colored is probably a better word there. So they're either black or like a really dark grey color, so I'd say that works pretty well. Now, okay, except for this one. I had to buy this one. It's backwards. It's upside down, sorry. Wait, what is this box? This is the Noctua NH-U12S. This is the ugliest CPU cooler on the planet, but it is really good and it's pretty cheap for the price. So I bought this one, and yeah, I'm gonna like it. Now I know, as I said before, the rest of the parts are either black or they fit in with the red color scheme, except for this. But you know what? I don't actually care, because the case is going to be under this desk, and I'm never going to look at it. So if I can see that red glow coming out, that's nice enough. I'm never going to look at this CPU cooler, so I don't actually care that it's really ugly. I just want it to perform really well. Let's not hold it like that in case I drop it. This is not Linus Tech Tips. I don't want to do that. Let's go with the next part. So, not really a part. This is Arctic Silver. Arctic Silver is great because it's Arctic Silver. So, not really much else to say about this. If you need some sort of thermal compound, pretty much anything will work, but I hear good things about this, and this is like $6, so I don't care. Yeah, there's probably some stuff that's just as good or a little bit worse that's maybe going to save me $1 or $2, but considering the fact that I'm already spending in the realm of, I think, $2,500 on this system, I don't care that I'm spending an extra couple of dollars on some thermal compound. Okay, next part. That's not a part there. This one, we will see whether I need to buy another one. So I know that this has a Broadcom chip on it, and Broadcom is questionable on Linux. So this is, what is this? This is a TP-Link AC1200. So this is basically the cheapest Wi-Fi adapter I could get. I've heard that the 1300 works well, so actually I should probably not put that in front of the mic. I've heard the 1300 works well, so I'm going to assume that this is probably fine as well, but basically the reason I have this is because I'm not even sure where the router is in this house. So, Wi-Fi it is. Because otherwise what I would do is I would do power over Ethernet. Ethernet over power. Power over Ethernet is a very different thing. That is a thing, but it's a very different thing. So yeah. If this doesn't work, I will have to go buy something else. I'm gonna hope that it works. If it doesn't, though, I'll get to that bridge when I pass it. Okay, next up we have... This is the GPU. So, we have the Radeon RX 570 by Gigabyte. It has 4 gigs of video RAM. It is a graphics card. Don't actually care about the graphics card, to be honest, because I'm not going to be doing gaming with it. The reason I have this is so I have video output, basically. I'm pretty sure the 3900X doesn't have a GPU built into it. I could be wrong there. If I want to do some light gaming, I can do that. Also, the reason I have this is because I need it to do some VR stuff. So that's going to be in a Windows VM, and I kind of need that. Like, you're not going to do any VR stuff with a integrated GPU anyway. So, bought this one. Might sell it in a while. Don't know. If Caden Live gets proper GPU rendering, maybe this will be useful. I guess I also do some Blender stuff. That'll be useful for Blender. Yeah, it's a graphics card. Don't have much else to say. It's a graphics card. It's not a great graphics card, but it's a graphics card. Now, we have the infamous part that you may have heard of on the podcast, the Asus Prime X570p, the motherboard that I accidentally bought the wrong version of before. So I've managed to sell it now, so I can't show you it right now, but I bought the Z390, which is, if you don't know, not an AMD board. That would be an Intel board, and I'm a moron. So, yeah. This is the AM4 board that will fit my CPU. It has 4 RAM slots. It has, what does it have on the side? It has some audio jacks. It has Ethernet, which I'm not going to be using, as we heard before. Got some USB, HDMI, some lots of, actually it's got like 8 USB ports on it. And it's got a PS2 port. Don't have a PS2 keyboard or a PS2 mouse, but PS2 keyboards, hey, that's nice that we've still got that around. I'm honestly surprised that PS2 stuff is actually still around, to be honest, because I don't know any company that even sells PS2 keyboards anymore. But it is nice to see that, if I ever wanted to use that. Next up, this one's heavy. We have the power supply. This is an EVGA you can actually see the reflection. EVGA Supernova 650G+. Why this model? Well, it is a modular power supply. It is 80 plus gold. 650 watts is probably overkill. It was the only one in stock though, so I could have gone down to the 550. And yeah, that's pretty much the only reason I bought this one. Now I could have got, also a problem with this is that motherboard I have. Now it's got a weird power delivery setup where you need both of the CPU powers plugged in, even if your CPU doesn't need the extra power. So I needed to find something that actually had 2 CPU power thingies on it. There's not many that do, especially on the low end. So I had to go a bit expensive on this one, but this one should last me, and it will be way more power than I ever need. I could chuck like what's AMD's top GPU? I don't know what it is. I don't know. Someone's gonna leave a comment down below telling me what AMD's top GPU is, but I could chuck like a 2080 Ti if I want to go NVIDIA. Don't do NVIDIA if you're on Linux. Very bad idea. The proprietary drivers are notoriously annoying. And actually not even lastly, we have other stuff. Next up, we have my keyboard. So, it is not a mechanical keyboard. This is a scissor switch keyboard because scissor switches, honestly, I love scissor switches. So, the problem I have is that whenever I go from using a laptop to anything else, I have a serious problem with my typing speed. My typing speed is already not very good, don't want it to get worse. So I bought something that uses the low profile laptop sort of switches, and also the same sort of switch, or the low profile keycaps, and also the same sort of switches. Now I was thinking about getting Cherry's board. So Cherry's got a very, very similar board that isn't RGB. I'm actually just going to turn the RGB off. I do it on my laptop as well, because it's just annoying light basically. So, as I was saying, Cherry has also got a board, and I might go and buy this. I also might go and buy a wrist rest for this as well, just so I have a bit of a wrist rest. I don't really want to like mess up my wrist, but I've heard this is a pretty good keyboard, especially for the price. It's a gaming keyboard if you care about that. I don't think anyone actually does, but just I don't know. Thought I'd note that. Now the mouse I actually already have. So I'm using this already. This is, what even is this? I don't know. A Mikoyan Foxbat 3. It's literally second cheapest mouse I could find that's wireless, which is nice. And it has a not terrible shape. It has some buttons on the side. It has mouse left and no mouse right because for the scroll wheel, because it's just broken like that. But it's a mouse. So I will just cut back to when I can actually grab the other parts, but there's a little bit left to go over. Okay, so this is going to be an absolute mess to set up this recording setup, but anyway, this is the monitor that I'm using. So this will be, what is it? Asus VL279. It's a monitor. I don't really have much else to say about it. Pretty much, yeah, I was thinking of getting a ultra-wide monitor, but I decided against that just because it would be a bit weird for the recording. So, I'm not even in the frame right now, am I? So, yeah, anyway, it would be a bit weird for recording, because basically what I would have to do is set up a special region where I could actually do the recording, but what I decided to do instead was just get this monitor, and now I know I already have this this TV that I could use as a monitor. The problem with that is it has really bad colors. So instead of doing that, I decided to bite the bullet, buy a monitor. And when I don't need it, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it sitting off to the side of my desk so I can actually see the TV. Now, not the best solution. Honestly, a better solution would be to, not have the TV on this desk. But I don't really have the room for that, so this is basically how I'm going to do it instead. Now, we've got one more part, and that'll be the case, so I'll just cut back to that. So as it looks right now, this is probably the just most boring black box on the planet, and I don't know why I decided to record this at night. But anyway, this is the InWin 101. I might leave a link down below if you want to actually check out what this case actually looks like with someone who knows how to do recordings like this. But anyway, it's a pretty nice case. So it's got these, thumb screw thingies on the side. So basically I can just press these in and then just pop the, I pull them out and then just pop the side panel off, which I think is actually really cool. So basically it's a pretty standard looking case. Like if you've seen a PC case before, there's nothing too crazy about it. I'm not going to go into depth about what you can do with it. It's a PC case, basically. But the cool thing about this case is it has this little hidden power button. So this right here, it's just a piece of plastic, but it's actually I don't know if you can hear that. It's actually a power button there. So that I think is actually pretty cool. On this back side here, it's got this sort of honeycomb design, and I'm guessing it's it's an air intake of some sort. Don't really know the specifics. It's just a cool looking case, and it looks like it has pretty easy to remove screws. So they're not thumb screws on this side. No, they might be thumb screws, but they're definitely tightened a bit too much to be thumb screws. But they look pretty easy to remove as well. So I've got 2 USB 3 ports and 2 very indiscriminate headphone ports. I'm not sure what one or the other is supposed to be. I'm going to assume they're probably not both headphone ports. Maybe they are. I don't know. It could be. Actually, it's probably mic and audio, isn't it? That would probably make a bit more sense. So there's no labeling on them. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to just check the manual for what those are. But yeah, it's a pretty standard case. InWin, they used to just make a lot of, I guess a lot of sort of custom-y cases and then only do a very limited run. But they've started to do these more production-style runs, which, yeah, this is actually it's a really cheap case. I think, okay, I would say it's cheap, but it's still expensive in Australia. I think this one was $150, which would put it around the $60 or $70 range if you look at the US price. So, yeah, I would say I haven't built in it, obviously, but I'd say it's a pretty good-looking case. I'm not a big fan of those, heavy gamer aesthetics. So I just wanted something very basic, and InWin seemed to deliver pretty well. Now I know Lee and a bunch of other companies like that have, or NZXT as well, they have fairly good looking cases as well, but this is probably the most basic looking black box with still just tiny little aesthetics that do make it seem like a cool looking case, like I was showing before with the honeycomb design on the back. And I've noticed that it's getting pretty common to just see things like full glass side panels, which wasn't a thing a couple of years ago, but now pretty much everyone's doing it. One thing you can pick it up on the recording. This thing is a fingerprint magnet, so I might have to wipe this down afterwards, but once again, I'm really never going to look at it, so as long as it works as a PC case, that's pretty much all I need from it. So, yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. This isn't a hardware review channel. I just want to talk about what I'm using. So I'll just cut back when I'm in my chair and finish off the video. One thing I don't know if I've talked about before is the fact that the floors in this room are all carpet. So what I'm going to do is, under this chair, I've actually got one of those chair mats. So basically it's like a hard plastic thing you put under a desk chair so you can use it on carpet easily. What I'm going to do is get a second one of these and then basically have it under my entire desk. So pretty much the entire thing will be hard plastic, because even though this thing does have stands on it, and I'm going to put some higher stands on it as well, I still don't really want it to be sitting directly on carpet, just because I've done that before. It's a way to get your computer just completely filled with dust. So I'm not going to do that. And basically, if I have hard plastic there, it shouldn't be as big a deal. Obviously, having carpet under the hard plastic is still going to make it a bit of a problem, but it shouldn't be as much of a problem straight away, at least. And yeah, I would say that's pretty much everything. I know at some point this kind of turned into early Linus Tech Tips, really bad hardware reviews. So I'm sorry for that, but hey, it's a very different style of video and maybe you'll enjoy it. I have literally no idea if anyone's even going to stick around to this point. So if you have, obviously I'm not going to do lots of videos like this because I'm not going to go out and just buy PC hardware, and I'm not going to turn this into a tech review channel. But it is nice to know that people will stick around for different sorts of content. So if you have stuck around and you enjoyed the video, then let me know if you want to see more different sorts of videos, because I'm more than happy to do different sort of stuff. Like, that's why I've started doing things like vlogs, and I've started doing, I guess, just more stuff that's not the application reviews that aren't bad, but I think that they do get a little repetitive, at least from my perspective, from time to time. So anyway, I think I'm just going to end it there. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, then let me know. So before I go, I want to thank my patrons, Nathan, Andrew, Rode, LQ, Larry, Ray, and Zilver. And Ray, special thank you to you for being my newest patron. So if you want to support the channel on Patreon, there'll be a link to my Patreon down below. But if you want to support the channel monetarily and don't want to do it through Patreon, there's also some other links down below, like my Amazon affiliate links and some other stuff like that. So feel free to check those out as well. I've got my alternate video platforms for my BitTube and my library, and my social links, so my Discord and my Telegram. Also remember to smash the like button and leave me a comment down below, and remember to subscribe and ding the little bell icon down below as well. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.